Great afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert. I will be the moderator for today for this awesome, great discussion, and I am going to have all of the artists here introduce themselves. And we will start with Joelle.
Joelle Denise, and I'm an actress.
Evan.
Evan Cairns, I'm an actor.
A producer.
Garrett.
Garrett Matthews, actor singer.
Comacel.
Hi, I'm Comacel Brown, best known as Cell Spitfire. I'm a graphic designer, artist, muralist, and fashion designer.
Tim.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Tim Megginson. I am an actor, host, stand-up comedian, and music artist.
And Reggie.
Reginald Baskerville, and I'm an artist and an educator.
PK.
Hello, I am Kika Ayodeji, and I'm an actress.
And Nefertiri.
Hi everyone, I am Nefertiri Razak. I am a speaker, actor, editor, and mom.
Max.
Max Garner. I'm a theater artist, reviewer, and admin of a theater Facebook group.
Awesome. And Miss Angela.
Yes, I'm Angela Wilson, and I am the founder of the Angel Wing Project, and welcome everybody to our discussion on artists and social justice. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. So if you guys don't mind, I would love to just kick this off. You all have the list of questions that we'll be asking, and I am so excited to get right into these things. So we're just going to start out with question one. So how do you feel, or what do you see as the part that art plays in social activism? Anyone can go first. Tim, I see your hand. Please go ahead, sir.
I was trying to be, politically. You raise your hand, wanted to do it the right way. I think that art, for the most part, is the mouthpiece for the unheard, the unseen, and the underrepresented. I think that art is, in many ways, it kind of shapes the viewpoints in which people see and associate social issues, right? I think it's, in a way, it's its own language. Take like music, for example. People from different backgrounds or from different places around the world can kind of relate on one medium, right? Through music. Same thing through art. And we're able to learn different things, right? I may see, let's take a painting, for example. I see one thing in the painting, and you might see another thing in the painting, and we get to share those ideas with each other. So not only are we learning, but we're teaching in that same regard. So that's how I see art, in my opinion.
Beautiful. Max, I saw you raise your hand.
I think that's a great system, raising the hand. I think that any civilization, anywhere, anytime throughout history, is defined largely by its culture. And I think culture is driven, if not defined, by the arts that happen there. So I agree with the point about art representing the underheard and underrepresented, underserved. But also I think that art has kind of a top dog role as well as the underdog role.
Sorry, that was really good, really good. Did anybody else want to chime in on that one? Awesome. Comacel, go ahead.
As being a visual artist, my career kind of kicked off and really took flight with helping to push the narrative of social justice through art. It really, it also helped to speak, as both participants spoke about, speaking for the underserved. And I feel like artists get to say some of the bold things that politicians may be afraid to say. And we also leave a lot of room for the public to be able to articulate that as well by looking at the art. So, you know, art plays a key role in that. And it also plays a huge role in the healing process and the understanding process where we can all be able to dialogue like we're doing now. So it's definitely important.
I love what you said. It speaks to the healing process and the understanding process. That was really, really good. Garrett, I saw you raised your hand. What's up?
Yeah, hey. I really see art as like a demonstration of humanity. And so it really is, it reflects questions and dissects society. And it also then takes all of that, demonstrates it, and then it creates a space in and of itself of a place to grow. And I think it's like, and the growing is on part of whoever's taking in the art. And so I feel like art is really, it is the mechanism of growth.
Nefertari, thank you for raising your hand. I see you.
Thank you for seeing me. I listening to everything and just kind of letting it like mull over in my head. I feel like art is our first educator, right? From the very coming out of the womb to like growing up through the ages, you experience education or the existence of the world and the things that are happening through music, through paintings, through different forms of expression, through dance. I see it in my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old. They know the ins and outs of how they feel through the music that they're hearing, right? Whether they like it or not, or what they learn from it or not. And taking it further on, many times there are things where certain groups or certain people may not listen to the news, right? May not be interested in certain types of politics. But then there are comedians, right? Like Tim, this is your area. There are comedians who are like the most intelligent people because they get people to listen. They get people to understand, but you have to understand all the different social issues that are going on and break it down in order to create another type of form, another type of art for it to exist through, and then to actually pass it on for other people to be educated by. So I think in so many different ways, the way that we experience art just educates who we are and the way that we exist in the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was really good. We'll go Joelle first and then Evan.
Okay. I have always thought that art specifically will show you exactly who we are as society. It will show people humanity in the ugliest of forms, in the most beautiful of forms, in the most ridiculous of forms, in the most clouded of forms. And it will also show you what humanity can be if you choose a different path. And having a medium of that sort that also speaks to the creativity inside all of us is something that is so enriching because it gives you an opportunity to glimpse into another culture. It gives you an opportunity to glimpse into how food is a love language. It gives you a glimpse into just humanity on a different level. And I think it just plays a humongous part in social activism, how we can be better, how we can stay the same and see where that gets us. It gets us nowhere. What do we have to look forward to? What could you be able to do a bit different if you put your all into it? So art is everything.
Art is everything. That's going to be my Twitter post for the day.
It should be.
Thank you. Evan, how you doing?
Doing good, brother. I'm actually going to get a shirt that says art is everything. I'm going to wear it next time we do one of these. So I would say for me, really, I agree with everything that you guys have said so far. I would say in regards to art is meant to really challenge. It's also meant to inspire to change, I would say. And I feel like kind of taking that from a more intrinsic approach, say, for example, if we're doing a role, right? I would like to think that when it comes down to doing roles and doing parts, we never start and finish at the same place, whether it be the character, but also it can be the person. With art and through art, we have an opportunity really to find ourselves in a position to where we can ask ourselves the hard questions personally. And by that can also put us in a position to be better serving to change society. Through the roles that we take on, through the stories that we tell, through the sculptures that we create and craft, and through the plays that we put on, through the films that we do, through the comedy sets that we have the chance to do. Art is very much about changing ourselves as well as society. So I feel like just allowing us to be able to, allowing art to kind of take and shift you with what you do. It allows you to have a better serving perspective to be able to inspire change.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that is, oh, never mind. Hello, Kike, would you please reveal us with a comment, please? Thank you.
Yes, I love what everyone had to say. I think for me, art is very subjective, right? So it's based off of how you grew up, how your parents raised you to view the world. Being Nigerian American, when I heard everyone speaking, I was reminded of Fela. Fela was this great artist, musician. And through his art, he would talk about the government, right? The government hated that. It was negative to them. They tried to kill him. They did kill his mom. But he used his art to educate, to speak his emotions, to speak his mind. He used his art to enlighten people, and like even today in 2023, I can listen to his songs and be like, oh my gosh, this is what was happening back then. Through his music, through his lyricism, you know what I mean? So I believe like art is a beautiful thing. I think it can also be a negative thing to other people, you know what I mean? Depending on how you were raised or how you view certain things. But at the end, I think it's a beautiful thing, and it's a gift we can use to convey our emotions that can be passed down to generations. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Angela, I saw you put your hand down. Did you still want to say something?
I did, but it's kind of all been said. So go ahead. You can go ahead to the next thing, and it'll probably come up again what I'm thinking. So.
Oh, fantastic. That's good. That's good. So basically just hearing everybody, I think at the very core of art in itself is a conversation starter. It is a dialogue creator, and for everyone on both sides to really just get that understanding and hear other people's perspectives. So with all that being said, we're going to move on to that next question is, has social issues influenced your artistry? And if so, in what ways? And so I know especially recently, we have more than enough social issues that are going around. So Joelle, I see your hand up first. I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
So for me, I don't think that it has influenced my artistry more than I had already been wanting to do. I think it probably accelerated my course of knowing specifically what stories I want to tell. Instead of hop, skipping, and jumping, maybe I'll go here and, well, this one might be okay. It's like, no, I knew what stories I wanted to tell before kind of, you had life pre-COVID and post-COVID. So we're kind of during and post-COVID now. So I knew what I wanted to do and what stories I wanted to tell before COVID. I know specifically the route I'm trying to go and specifically what stories I want to tell. There are so many of us that have ancestors that never got the opportunity to speak, ever. And to be in a position that we are in, I would feel like it's a disservice to them if you didn't at least tell a portion of their story. Give them an opportunity to be amplified a bit, and see how that moves you. I want to move in the world and create art in the world that is speaking to people and that lasts a lifetime. And if we don't know where we came from, we're just going to repeat this same cycle continuing on and on, but that art will always stay the same. We don't want to keep repeating the same murals. We got to change the narrative at some point.
That's my second Twitter. Man, you just gonna fill up my Twitter feed today. Mr. Reginald Baskerville, the coolest name on here. What is going on? I would love to hear your thoughts.
So I want to add to what Ms. Joelle just mentioned, which is one of the reasons why I love doing period pieces, is because it gives you a chance to be in character in a different time and space where you actually are amplifying the voices of the people of your past that your blood's connected to. So I have a huge affinity for playing characters who have to step back in time. But I also, as far as the social activism, enjoy being able to play characters who are strong in nature, so that the optics and the imagery of who I am is connected to strength. And I think when you see people who have been in some of the scenarios and hardships that Black people have had to endure over time, I really feel blessed to be able to play characters that just represent a certain level of authority, certain level of strength, and this to kind of project masculinity in a sense that shows some level of power.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Mr. Comasel, I saw your hand raised. Next, how you doing today?
Doing well. Social issues have played a huge role in influencing my artwork since the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Up until that point, a lot of the art that I did was just me freestyling or, reproduction of different people. But I always have advocated for against police brutality. We've had a death here in Annapolis where a police officer killed someone and it was unjust, but the narrative that the media gave off was different than what really took place. Me being young back then, I always wanted to stand up for that, but didn't know how. And when the pandemic came and the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, I partnered with different artists here in Annapolis, and we did 2 murals back to back. The first one of George Floyd and the second one being a 7,000 square foot mural on a basketball court of Breonna Taylor. This image went around the world within months. I'm talking about overnight. It was on the presidential election. It was played before the start of the NBA season. And then I actually flew out to Louisville and I had the honor of painting a mural for Breonna Taylor's family. During that process, while we were painting it, they had different residents that were against it and actually wanted to come out. One guy came out wrapped in a Confederate flag and tried to intimidate us from painting. So back to my point this is when that moment clicked off in my head and I understood that I could speak, my paintbrush could speak volumes and amplify the voices of people who aren't here. And it can also start action. So, just to see how artwork can make people mad, it can uplift people. I started to see that now my artwork can truly be purposeful. Now everything that I paint and I put my time and talent into has a purpose.
Absolutely. The pen, or in your case, the paintbrush, is mightier than the sword. I love that. I love that. We will go Tim next and then Angela.
Yes, I would say that social issues definitely influence my artistry personally. Like Joelle, it's like what stories you want to say or you want to tell to people, or what voice you want to give to a specific issue already. And I think that it's kind of almost like our responsibility, right, to do that. Even I would say even through comedy, right? I think comedy is one of the truest art forms, right? Because it kind of forces you to pick a side, right? on where you stand on whatever. And they bring humor to it. It's a very difficult thing to do when dealing with really serious issues, but the masters of the craft can do it in a way so elegant that it's like, or eloquent rather, that it makes you pay attention. Dave Chappelle is one of those people who can literally step on every single line, like, but don't cross it. He'll step on it, but won't cross it, and can maneuver his way through. But it forces you to think, and it forces you to kind of say, where do you stand on this issue? Whether it's the right side or the wrong side is up to the individual, right? I think that I honestly feel that all art should be influenced. I think that now it's to a place where the repetition is happening. Like, you look at TikTok, you look at Instagram, everybody's doing the same thing. It doesn't feel, I think that's what we're missing in the art community, right? Is originality and being able to express yourself in a way that provokes like thought instead of just everybody just on Instagram all day. So yeah.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead. Angela, I would love to hear your answer, because I have had the opportunity to be a part of some of your artistry that has demonstrated social influences. So please, I would love to hear your take on this.
Well, I'm kind of like Carmicel. In the beginning, just being a creative person, and I dabbled in this and did a little of that. And it really wasn't until I got to Tears of the Soul, that show, that when I saw the impact of it and when I saw the reaction, and then when we were doing it for high school kids, I really felt this ultimate responsibility. Like, I need to really get this right, because I really want to be speaking the truth on my platform, but, doing it in a way that people are learning and being inspired by it. So like Carmicel was saying earlier, so everything I do now is very purposeful. When I don't know, I think before I was just like, I just want to do a good show, and I want it to be entertaining, and I want people to clap, and I want them to laugh where I put in a funny line or what have you. It was more like the mechanics of it than me being really purposeful and me really being intentional. And so it has evolved. And I just think art has a invisible power. So you don't necessarily know why when you look at something it makes you cry, or why when you see something it makes you feel a certain way, or makes you think about something differently. So, and just to throw in there, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I've seen the Breonna Taylor mural, and so I'm very proud of that. And I actually told my people there, I was like, I know the guy who, one of the guys who did that. So, but yeah, seriously, it has evolved for me. I didn't just know, like, this is going to be my platform and this is going to be how I present myself or how I use my voice. I didn't know how to use my voice at first. I just knew I wanted to perform or entertain or what have you. But now it's very intentional. And social issues influence, it's just kind of just our reality. It's not just always Black issues, or sometimes it's just people that are, like we said, people have said earlier, it's people's voices that need to be heard and people that are underrepresented.
Absolutely. We'll go Garrett and then Evan.
Max, did you have your hand up earlier and took it down?
No, that was the applause reaction.
Oh, that was okay.
It looks like that.
Yeah, okay.
I use those. Sometimes there's the thumbs up, looks like that. It's just a way to go, yeah, I agree
saw
with
a
you.
hand. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Great. I what everyone said, it definitely really rings true. When I first came across this question, my initial instinct was like, how could it not? Like how could you be unaffected? Like how could you not have it sort of like correlate between what you're presenting to the world? And I know like even like, for example, like I know that I like when it comes to like character work, even if I'm doing something fluff, like I was Danny Zuko in Grease, I would then be like, all right, well like Danny Zuko is a misogynist from the beginning of the show to the very end. Like he doesn't. The moral of Grease is if a man doesn't love you for who you are, change. And so I think it's important to like reflect that in these most loved roles. Now, is every audience member going to pick up on that? Is every audience member going to be able to be like, wow, I never realized that Danny Zuko is horrible towards women.
Right.
You hope it does, but like again, that's like you can't control that in the audience. I do think that with the combination of George Floyd as well as the pandemic, everyone had the time to breathe and to pause and to think and to reflect. And I think what I grew most from that was looking at the theaters I usually had worked with were predominantly white. The boards were usually white. I mean, I grew up in the DMV area, so I'm very, very fortunate to say I live in such a diverse area. But even with that, like it still just feels like a disconnect. It doesn't feel jointed. So I know that like I was like, okay, I need to be a lot more mindful in who I'm submitting to, where I'm putting my resume and my headshot and resume, and doing the research, because it took research, because the theaters, that's how I became involved with Angel Wing Project. It was a conscious choice to look for theaters that have messages that I align with, that I want to put my time and effort into.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll go Evan.
Kind of working in tandem with Garrett, because I actually think very similarly. I would say for me, just like over the past couple of years, like getting deeper into it, especially just doing more theater over the last couple of years. I really think it's important to just look at the representation and equity of things, because for me personally, I think about just being a Black man just in theater or doing films or whatever. I think about just the coolness of being able to see yourself in so many different worlds, so many different stories, doing things that you traditionally don't see a lot of Black men doing. And I feel like it's important to really just kind of push that narrative to show that, hey, like you can be a part of like so many different shows that aren't necessarily traditional. I think about actors like Denzel Washington, Sidney Poitier, Chadwick Boseman, who came in and who never really saw themselves doing the traditional type of role that society expects Black men to do. And I think it's very important to have people like them, and people like Lawrence Fishburne, James Earl Jones, because you never see them fit inside this one particular box. They're always pushing the boundaries. And I think just even for me, like I want to be able to do that exact same thing. I love to be able to tell stories like Macbeth. I love to be able to do Othello. I love to be able to do so many other different things. And I think it's important just for other actors and just for other creatives and also for society as a whole, just to be able to see that you shouldn't limit yourself. You shouldn't limit other people based off of what your perceptions are about them, based off of what society may tell you, based off of what the stereotypes may be. And yeah, I'm very passionate about that. And I think it's important to be able to allow for those opportunities to happen. But also, if you don't see those opportunities happen for yourself as a creative, being able to use your creativity to also make those opportunities happen for yourself and for other people. That's where the writing and producing comes in. I've been blessed to do different productions with people where I've either had the opportunity to write my own story or produce a story that I wrote or work with someone else on, where we've been able to work with people from so many different backgrounds and just being able to help give them a voice. And I'm a big believer in that, just being able to make sure that you're providing those opportunities for other people who otherwise wouldn't have had them.
Thank you all so much. We are only 2 questions in and y'all are getting deep. Listen, oh my goodness. So that was how social issues influence your artistry. Let's move to the next question. And that is, in what ways do you feel that artists such as yourselves fit into the social climate of our society today? In what ways do you feel that artists fit into the social climate of our society? And Angela, you had your hand up first. I would love to hear your.
Oh, and I don't want to be like the one raising my hand all the time, like that kid in, the classroom that had to answer every question, but pick me. But you know what? I don't know what kind of climate we would have if we didn't have artists. I mean, it goes together. It's kind of one and the same, in my opinion. And I remember, I'm older than most of y'all, so I remember when hip hop started. Okay, I'm really dating myself, but I do remember, Grandmaster Flash and Furious Five, and I do remember, like Don't Push Me because I'm close to the edge, and all of that kind of stuff when that first started. And those songs were like anthems, and they were like chants, and they were like protest songs and all of that. And they were explaining a part of our culture that people felt like was ignored. Like, y'all don't know what's really going on out here. It's like a jungle sometimes, And so it's to me, you can't have a culture without art. So, and you can kind of look at different generations and different times in history and kind of know what was going on in that time because of the art. When we even had the whole Renaissance period, as far as for Black people, there's certain art forms and art that was going on that's very much identifiable. You identify that period by that art. And so you identify, like, if I start doing some of the raps and things that came out when I was growing up, y'all would say, okay, you like the 80s or, whatever. You would know what period that I'm talking about, even though those things are still relevant today. All of that, it's nothing really new. It just kind of reinvents itself and comes out in a different way, but it's still the same thing. It's still the same issues, that are happening. But it's so connected. It's, and I don't like to see artists that don't understand their influence. So, all right, I'm done.
No, that'll preach. That'll preach. We will go Tim, Joel, Nefertiri. Oh, no, Tim just, there you go. Boom. Sorry, you moved on my screen.
Just piggybacking off of what Angela said, right? Using the same example, right? I think that artists are they're the movers and shakers, right? They're the ones that push the narrative of what the people are saying. I think that artists are, you're blessed with these gifts to the world, right? And you have to, get them out. In my opinion, it's like they are the divine display of who God truly is, right? They're the mouthpiece for themselves first, right? And I guess they're the mouthpiece of the mouthpieces of the people who can't speak for themselves, right? Talking about the music specifically, back when hip hop started, and Don't Push Me because I'm close to the edge, and all the other songs that they had out of there, KRS-One, and all the artists out that they had out there, that art was reflective of a time period when the artists were in control of the narrative, right? Where we fast forward to today's music and it's, I don't know what the heck it is right now, right? But it's because the artists are no longer in control of what the narrative is. Now the machine is in control of what the narrative is, and the machine dictates what is going to be popular, right? And so you hear a bunch of booty shaking, drug taking music, right? But you don't hear there's very small, very, very small pockets of music that are actually inspirational, that are actually trying to influence change. And I think that falls back to the importance of an artist, and their responsibility to push a narrative from the people that's actually art. So my opinion.
That's good. That's good. So, Joelle, I know you had your hand up and then you put it down. Did you still want to comment on that?
Yes, I was just lowering it. So first things first, how do artists fit into the societal climate? Artists are human beings first. Before I'm an actor, before I'm a dancer, before I draw, before I sew, I am a human being first. So I'm going to have opinions about whatever's happening. I'm going to want to talk to somebody about whatever is happening, and whatever medium I may choose to do that in, that then turns me into an artist. But I'm a human being first. So they absolutely are, they make up the societal climate. We all do. Now, what we are choosing to do with how we make up the societal climate makes all the difference in the world. For me, it's not enough to just make art for the sake of doing it, because then why am I doing it? Like, I'm making the same thing that Jim Bob next door is making, and we're selling it at the same market. And, you know, I made $3 more than what he did this week, but I'm not saying anything. I'm not making my voice heard. I'm just peddling whatever I'm selling. It's not enough for me to just take up space by being flesh and blood and some bones. What also comes with that? I'm more than just flesh and blood and bones. I have opinions, and I thought about it, and the oldest forms of art, even before there was actual language, was hieroglyphics and music. We all have some form of that deposited into us. So how are we going to birth that into the world? So we all make up the societal climate. It's just, what do we want to say?
That's good. That's good. So I saw Nefertiti's hand, and then we will go to Max right after that.
Thank you. I really appreciate everything that was said. And just to touch on, especially in the beginning, what Angela was saying, we're historians. We are the documenters of history before textbooks. Can you imagine can you imagine 20, 30, 40 years down the road and not having the murals that Carmichael created of Breonna Taylor to really depict and share the essence of that moment in time? Or all of the poetic pieces of Trayvon Martin, or issues of 9/11, or Obama winning office. Both times, the art that we create solidifies those moments in history. But aside from being historians, I think the major piece of the importance of how and why we exist as artists is the fact that artists are healers. We help heal first ourselves, and through healing ourselves, we help to heal the world from the issues that is happening, that we're experiencing. The murals, to get lost in a painting, to get lost in lyrics, or to see yourself in Grandmaster Flash's lyrics, it's powerful because it helps to give the experiencer of that art validity of their existence. Like, I see you, Yana, you are not alone. I'm here for you. And I think because of our art, we've evolved even now to a different understanding to help the world heal, and just knowing how powerful mental health is. Artists, creatives, poets, speakers, writers, comedians, we have all elevated our culture. We are the leaders of culture. We transform it, and everything else around it, Instagram, Facebook, all types of social media, all of these Fortune 500 companies, they follow our lead, whether we want to acknowledge that or whether they want to acknowledge that or not. They follow our lead because we let them know what is and what is not acceptable by first expressing our opinion of it. Then it trickles down from there. But when you're an artist and you're brave and you have the audacity to share what it is that you've been given in your heart and in your mind and in your spirit to share, you impact the world and you make it happen. You make positive change happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Max, thank you. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I agree with everything everybody said. As far as artists drive the culture, and it kind of speaks to my answer to the first question, which is that, you know, in civilizations are defined by their culture, and it's artists who create the culture. So, but when we talk about social climate, that to me is a metaphor, and artists love to deal with metaphors. So I'm going to answer it metaphorically. Artists are the clouds. Climate is the weather around us, and nature and everything that's growing and green. So the artists are the clouds. We rain down on the planet with everything that we create, and everything grows from that. So there's our tidy, pretty little metaphor for how we are in the social climate.
I love that. I love that. Oh, Comasel, sorry, I just saw your hand back up. What's up?
Yeah, my answer was similar to the last one. Almost metaphorically, I feel like we're activated all day, all night, 24 hours. Like, we depict what storm is going to arise. It's like when a person dies, especially if it's a celebrity, once that first artwork hits the internet, everybody wants to do artwork. Or when you see artwork on the internet, which is a depiction of something that just happened a few hours ago, minutes ago, now you know it's serious because it'll start to pick up and just flow. So I think that artists are active, and that's the climate that we fit in. We can dictate and start the conversation about anything, like literally from start to finish of a day. And it's almost to the point now as an artist, I feel like I'm not doing my service if I don't do some type of artwork about some type of issue. It's like I really feel like I'm missing out. But even if I don't do it, I know I have my artist community, which is active 24/7. Even not even just artists, you know, with actors as well. I see these skits being played every time I'm on, you know, social media, some type of skit. And these skits are metaphorical to things that are happening in our real life. It's not always social justice, but, you know, all of us as artists and creators, we have the ability to let our voices be heard 24/7, and with our following, we can push that message, you know, around the world by the push of a button. That's the climate I feel like we fit in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Joel, I see you got your hand back up. What's up?
Yeah, just with that metaphor, it just made me think of you know, heat rises. And like with weather, the more heat you get and the more it rises, what then happens? You get a huge thunderstorm. And that makes a lot of sense. We are that thunderstorm, and we'll rain on you, and you don't like the wetness, but this is what happens when heat rises. So that, I just wanted to share that. I like that.
That's good. That's good. Oh, yes, Angela.
Made me just think of something. So just like from what all three of you just said, and thinking about that, it just kind of dawned on me or occurred to me that when you think of we've come in kind of trying to get to the post-pandemic stage. We've seen some things. We're in an era now where everything's video, you know, everything's, you know, you can see it now. Whereas, you know, a few decades ago, you might not been able to record a policeman beating someone up or different types of things that are happening. But so I think you're right. I think that we get to different periods in, you know, or eras, have you, if you will, where there is kind of sort of like a renaissance. There's like this big outpouring of a different type of communication based on this whole pressure cooker type thing that we've all been in together. So now you see this, and the emergence of social media to where it is now. I mean, to ad nauseum at times, but to where it is now, and you're seeing everybody wants to express themselves, but people are now every day, I maybe not didn't consider themselves an artist, but all of a sudden they're like TikTok famous, and they are actually getting awarded and rewarded for their performances, and sometimes, whether it's good or bad or however we feel about it, like we feel like they're legitimate or not, but we're just seeing this, onslaught of people trying to express and present art, whether they're trained, untrained, whether they're, whatever our feelings or opinions about them are. It's this huge thing that's happening now. If we pay attention, it's just a whole new generation and a whole new way of presenting art. All right, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
No, I love it. I love it. Everything that you guys have said so far about artistry being a part of this social climate, because artists are what you guys have said, clouds, they're rain bringers. Even if people don't like to get wet, that's the water that is needed for growth. Artists are historians, they're healers, they're cultural creators. So all these things that artists are, it's all this power, but with that power comes great responsibility. And that brings us to our next question. What responsibilities come with the freedom to create? And we have a 1A, 1B type, because the sub question to this question is, as an artist, do you feel your artistry elevates social consciousness? So I'll repeat the question, and whoever wants to jump in first, I will see the hands. What responsibilities come with the freedom to create? And as an artist, do you feel your artistry elevates social consciousness? Max, I saw your hand shoot up first. I will please let you go first.
This is really brief and kind of a hot take, and there are probably folks on the call who will disagree with me, but I think there's a danger when we associate freedom with responsibility. I think freedom is something that we own, it's ours, we're free. That isn't part of an exchange. That's not part of a bargain. We don't owe somebody something because they've given us freedom. No one's given us freedom. Freedom, we're born with it. So we feel a responsibility, and someone spoke before that our talents are a gift to us, and therefore we feel personally responsible to use those talents and to give to the world, to give to society or the culture. And I think that's fine to feel that drive, but I'm cautious about us as artists having a feeling like we owe somebody something. I think that can be a negative, and I want to stay away from that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Evan, I saw your hand first, but I saw Tim's reaction to the question. So I'm going to go Tim first, and then I promise I will get right back to you, Evan. I promise there's no shade on you, but I just saw the reaction and I'm like, all right, Tim, I know you're going to respond to that. So
don't make the promises you can't keep, brother.
I got you. I promise.
No, I was going to say that I agree, right? Like, as far as people saying you have a responsibility versus you have the freedom. Everybody has the freedom to create. I agree. You can create if you want to or not create. I feel like this responsibility is more so a responsibility to yourself as an artist, right? To be the best version of yourself and execute whatever it is your gift is to the highest level possible, right? It's like, so much that someone else can, be inspired in one way or another to change, to feel, to love, to create, to whatever, right? I think at some point it may be your responsibility as a creative to teach, right? Whatever it is that you've learned through whatever it is that you do and do well. I think that would be a responsibility, but you don't necessarily have to, right? But it kind of goes back to the, I guess, the freedom of choice. You can choose to do or choose to not do, but this gift that we have is given. It's like a muscle, right? You don't use a muscle, what happens? You lose it, right? That's in everything, really. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I think that if you are a creative, again, your responsibility comes first to yourself, really only to yourself, right? And to be able to execute that gift in the highest level possible. I think the part that comes with that is your responsibility to choose whether you use it or not, right? If you don't use it, great, that's your freedom to do so. You have the freedom, the choice to do so, but understand with that, you don't use it, then you lose it. Then what do you have it for?
Yeah. I think that also plays back to what you said earlier, when artists, when they're not in control of their own art anymore, and then it's like the whole big media cog machine. I love that. Evan, I see you. I'm so sorry. Please, I would love to hear your response for this one, brother.
So what I was gonna say is actually funny because Kike was mentioning this earlier, because art is a very subjective piece. Art is a subjective concept. And in echoing what was said previously by Max and Tim, we were all given the ability to be able to perform in our giftings, our callings, and in our purpose with art. And I feel like it really does depend on just like what your view is with that. I mean, personally, for me as a Christian, I believe that my responsibility is ultimately towards God to be able to walk in my purpose when it comes down to art, however that may look. But yeah, I would say just we all have the ability to do really just whatever kind of art that we want, just based off the talents and abilities that we have. But going into it, it all depends on how personally connected you want to be with what you're putting out. So in echoing what Tim said, the responsibility that you really have, and I mean, obviously just depending on your faith, we can go deeper, but the responsibility that you do have, I would say, is knowing just what your art is, and also just how connected do you feel personally to it, because it can either be something of quality or it can just be what it is. And I've been hearing a lot of people just when it comes down to just like content, different things like that, just letting art just be what it is. Sometimes things need to sit. You may have different projects out there that come out that people are just like, oh man, this was an amazing painting. This was an amazing film. That was an amazing performance. You may have other people that say, man, that's trash. It's just because of the fact that art is so subjective, you can never find yourself in a position to where you can please every single person that ingests your art. And you should never seek to please people, but ultimately you should seek to fulfill your purpose.
Absolutely. 100%. I love that answer. We will go Kike, then Nefertiri.
Oh, yes, I agree with what everyone said. I think Joelle spoke to it a little bit when she said the first thing we are before an artist is that we're human beings, right? And so I feel like when we are creating, we have to stay authentically true to who we are, even if it's a different time. So for example, Beyonce, we all know Beyonce. I grew up with Beyonce. And so I remember when she was first coming out, you know, she had cornrows. She had cornrows. And then there was a point in time when she switched to like wigs, long wigs and stuff. And then there's a point in time when she went back to the cornrows. And so during the period of time when she had like her wigs and stuff, people would be like, she's not woke. She's not a Black girl. She don't know what we're going through. You know what I mean? Like, no, she doesn't speak for me. Lemonade came out and everybody was like, man, she's Black. She's woke, you know? And so I just feel as though like, yes, Beyonce, she's this amazing artist, right? But we don't know what she has to deal with. Like maybe her label's like, well, you have to look like this to sell. So if you don't do this, you're going to get cut. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what the artist is dealing with as a human being. Like Joelle said, we only see what they show us. But what is that artist dealing with at that time in their life? And are we going to forgive them, say, if they change their mind about a particular thing, maybe 5 years from now? Like maybe she doesn't want to wear wigs anymore. You know what I mean? Like, are we, like, as a society, do we forgive artists when we change our mind? I also think of like Ava. Ava, whew, I love her. Like, but she has this responsibility to tell the, be historically accurate, because people come for her. When she made the movie about MLK, people came for her. When they see us, whew, people were angry. You had like a side of people were pissed off, where there was a whole new generation was like, oh my gosh, I did not know this happened. Central Park 5, what is that? You know what I mean? So I think for me, I just always want to be authentically true to myself and my purpose, like Evan said, in that point of time. And if 5 years from now, I'm like, man, Kika, you were wrong, I still want to know that I held true to what I believed in that point of time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And new information could come out as well that causes you to change your mind also. I agree with all of that. Nefertiri, and then we will go with Garrett.
Sure. And I agree with a lot of what was said, but I feel like there are two different pieces to it. For me, it's really important that you get clear about intentionality, right? And you can create. Any and everybody can create. Doesn't matter what level, if it's Picasso or if it's stick paintings or what, or, like, any and everybody has that authority within themselves to create, and you can create it for yourself. It doesn't have to be shared or anything. But if you as your individual self feel that you have a purpose to provide impact, right, to share your pieces to the world, of course they started with self. And if you're true to the fact that you want to create impact and leave behind some sort of legacy that is life and world changing, with good intentions to it, then it's very important to know that, yes, that's a responsibility that you have, that you chose to have. Because for me, it comes down to, there's a saying that I live by. It's, I don't write because I want to say something. I write because I have something to say. And even within my acting, I don't act just because I want to be on stage. I act because there's a message that I'm here to portray and to share out. You understand? So a lot of it has to do with intentionality, what I feel like I'm aligned with. Yes, as a woman of God, what I feel like I was put here to do, but also in using my talents and using it effectively. I just think it's really important that we know that when we have a person's attention, we have a very powerful thing. And it's not for the sake of just saying, oh, I want to talk just to talk. Oh, I'm going to put something on TikTok just because. Or I think social media has gotten a lot of people just willy-nilly about saying stuff just to talk. And it's very irritating. But I think like I said, what's really important is to understand that when you choose to put something out there and when you are seeking somebody's attention, that you are responsible with that attention that they gave you, because they didn't have to give it to you. And that's a moment of their time that they won't ever get back. Don't waste a person's time because you didn't give it to them, so don't take it from them. That's all I got to say.
That's a mic drop right there. Garrett, and then Joel.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Nefertari kind of Nefertari made my point, but did it better. Especially to the question of, as an artist, do you feel that your artistry elevates social consciousness? That's something that I definitely wrestle with in my mind constantly, being a white man, where it comes into, it's just like, me being in the room, is that necessary? Is it purposeful? Is it needed? And that's something that I think Nefertari, it's all about intention and all about how you come into a space, how you allow yourself to belong to a space, diving in and not just being there, but also living within, being not just a part of the cell, but of the cell, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it comes down to intention, and it definitely comes down to making purposeful choices, movements, impacts.
Absolutely. Joel, did you still want to speak on this one?
Yes. So I find that we are in a place where there's so many different conversations going on at one time, and everybody is screaming from the mountaintops, you know, my issue is more important. It's not more important than mine. What about mine down here? Like, everybody has an opinion and something that they feel strongly about. And as far as how artists help elevate social consciousness, I tend to look at it like in acting. When you do like your character backstory, hopefully you're doing it in a way that you are kind of walking the same path with your character. You are not coming at them from a judgmental space, right? I wouldn't act like that. Well, then you don't understand this person already. You're not even putting yourself in their shoes to begin with. Like, what makes you people the same to begin with before you start talking about what makes you different? And when you're able to do that, look at what makes this character on page the same as me, I feel like you start to move in the world with your manager at work who gets on your last nerve, but you all of a sudden, I'm a woman just like her, and she dealt with the same horrible traffic to get here today, just like I did. So you start to relate on such a, I don't even know the word, but you start to relate on a more personal level. You take the titles off of people, and you start to understand them more on a level that they are now your peer. They can now be your mother. They can now be your ex-husband. They can now be your child. You can understand them on that sort of a level. So now things that might make a lot of sense to them, things that are frustrating to them, things that they don't feel seen in, you are now an ally to that person because you found that connection piece. And art and artists have such a great way of helping the next person who's not an artist maybe understand people a bit more, because we actually get to peek inside people's lives. We actually get to live as them for a time frame, and then we get to come back out of it. So I do feel like when we have those opportunities to do that, you do have a bit of a responsibility to come back out into the real world and say, this is what I have learned. And maybe the way you think about something, it might not be wrong to you, but here's just another perspective to look at it, just to weigh the options. And you could still look at it and be like, nope, I still don't get it. And that's fine. But we get to bounce around into other people's lives that most people don't get the opportunity to do. So I do feel like we have that sort of responsibility to say, hey, maybe take a look at this and show people where you actually are more alike than you are different.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. All right, we're going to keep on moving. So our next question is, do you feel that you have the power as an artist to compel people to feel, act, or respond to social justices? If yes, please elaborate. And whoever would like to go first, I don't see any hands up, surprising. Oh, damn, let's go, Angela, leading the charge.
Yes, I didn't know that when I first started producing shows. I didn't know that I could compel people to act or feel, or I didn't know that I could do that. And it's still not, and I think that the way that I do it is that I write about real things, real life, real people, and it's very reflective to the audience. So the audience, when they see a show, they're saying, I see myself, I see my mother, I see my brother, I see my uncle. And so they feel something because it feels real. And so I don't write for an audience necessarily intentionally that they're going to do so, but I know when it comes from a real place and it's authentic and it's real life, that people are going to respond to it. And the first time that I really saw that, I can't say the first time, but one of the times that really had an impact on me is when we did Tears of the Soul. There's a segment in there all about the Vietnam War. And I had men, 70-year-old, men coming up to me crying, saying how we depicted that so well, or how it brought back memories. I had middle-aged white men, honestly, coming up to me and saying, I never thought about that. I remember that period. I remember when that happened, but I never thought it impacted. I never knew that's how people felt, And so when I saw that, when I got that reaction, I remember, I'm sorry, I don't want to be long-winded, but I remember a particular show. It was intermission, and it was this older white lady. And my husband brought her to me because she's like, I need to meet her. I need to meet who wrote this. And she was just like crying hysterically. And she was like, yes, I was a teenager. I remember those songs. And she's just crying. And she's like, everybody needs to see this. I want to bring back all the students. So yes, there have been times when it has elevated the consciousness of people. I don't know that it's by intention. And I don't want to get to a point where I'm writing so I can get this reaction. I want it to still be real, and I think if it's just real and genuine, it'll get that reaction because it's how I feel about it, or it's how it's impacted me, or how I've seen it impact other people. But I don't want to get like I'm writing for a reaction. So that's not really how I do it. But I've had these visceral reactions from people that I just blew me away. So yeah, that happened.
Yes. We'll go Comacel, then we'll go Joel, and then we'll go Max.
Just going back on the subject that I was sharing with you all about the Breonna Taylor mural. I feel like that's the best project that I can relate to this subject. It's actually a scary feeling to see that we have the power to make people compelled to act, because we can control our artwork, but we can't control those actions. And just to show you two sides of it, like I said, when we were doing the Breonna Taylor mural in Kentucky, it was an open carry state. So outside of that guy wearing a Confederate flag, we seen people walking past multiple times with firearms. Like one lady was pushing a stroller with her 2 kids and 2 firearms on both sides just to make a statement to us. And then on the other side, with the first Breonna Taylor mural here in Annapolis, we had over 100 volunteers from all the way in Virginia, Philadelphia, because we advertised it a week before we painted it. And then here you see a great opportunity where you have great feelings, great people sharing, diversity and all of that. And then on the other side, you have people that want to destroy it. And, that the mural in Louisville, Kentucky has been vandalized 2 times. It's been over a year since I painted it, and the paint is still sitting across Breonna Taylor's face. And that's because the city feels like it's almost pointless to pay us to come back out and fix it because they can't control the actions of the people that are around in that community. And it kind of goes back to the first question with our responsibility. Our responsibility is to do our research about what we're painting. And if you stand on that, you have to be responsible to take on what comes with that. And you also have to be responsible with knowing, like, again, in the Breonna Taylor case, the neighborhood that we painted the court in is majority white. And even before painting it, they had talks of it in their Facebook group about how they didn't want the mural there. So we can compel people in a good way. We can compel them in a bad way. It's just, it can be scary because it's unpredictable. We've seen that all throughout the world. That's my 2 cents.
It's really good. We'll go Joelle.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of what Comacel said, it is scary to know just how much influence you have or can have over people. That is terrifying territory to kind of be inching towards. But I do feel like, for me, I feel like I don't want to compel people to think a certain way, but I do hope that the projects that I choose and the artistry and the form that I have chosen gets people to think and actually think. Because for my medium, theater, and let's just stick with theater is such a singular experience. You can go to a theater with 12 different people, and every single person is going to come out having seen a totally different show. Like, we bought tickets for the same thing, the same plot happened, but Garrett saw it one way, Tim saw it a different way, Evan saw it one way. Everybody's going to see it differently. But I think that because we as a society have gotten to a place where we really are not even human anymore. We don't act as humans. We think as a herd. Nobody has their own or wants to speak on really their own individual thoughts. It's a place and a time where you have to have this inner dialogue and conflict with yourself with what's on the screen or what's on the stage. And I just want people to come away having had a fully realized human experience. You see somebody on that stage that resonates with people within your life, right? There's a terrible father over here. Well, that's my neighbor. This is a bad child. Well, that's my nephew. You know what I mean? You can resonate. You can see these people, which means you can relate. Whether you agree with what they're doing or not, but you can relate to them. You're having a human experience with them. And that's just really what I want people to come away with, actually feeling and having a real human experience. Then what you choose to do with that, that's on you. Don't be a terrible person.
Right. Got you. All right, we'll go Max, please.
I'm going to answer the question with a no. No, I don't think we have the power to compel. I'm going back to the question that got open on my other computer.
Sure.
We as artists cannot compel anybody to feel, act, or respond to anything. And I don't believe that that's a power we have, and I'm glad it's a power we don't have. I think that art is a process. It's a conversation between the artist and the audience. I make theater, and we were just talking about theater, and I loved that example. Great thing about theater is that you and those 12 people you go to that play with, if you go the next night, it's a completely different show, even for you, than it was the night before. That's the great thing about theater. You go to a movie and you see the same movie later, it's the same movie. Theater is only one moment and it's gone. It disappears. Stand-up is the same way. Anything that's live, it's just there and then it's gone. And all that's left is a memory. And I'm sorry, that's a tangent I'm going off on. But I think art is a conversation. It's two-way. So we can inspire. We can make people. We can offer things that people will feel that they relate to, like you were talking about. We can move people, but we can't compel. We can't force. People have to be receptive. If we have no audience, and that's any medium, any kind of art, theater or the Breonna Taylor mural painting. If no one ever saw it, it's like the tree that falls in the forest then. Art can't exist, or art doesn't mean anything if it isn't ingested, was a word somebody used, and I love that verb for it. So there's a two-way process. It's a conversation. So people have to want to take it in, to want to participate, and then they're going to feel what they feel. And you know, gosh, the lady with the shopping cart with a firearm on each side of it might have been looking for a scapegoat, and that mural was something that she could blame for things that she was going through and acting out about. And I don't know her. I don't know her situation. I don't want to comment about it. But you know, yeah, we'll get blamed for things. The Flip Wilson. All right, I'll go back in the Wayback Machine. You think Grandmaster Flash? That's only about 40 years ago. The devil made me buy this dress. That was Flip Wilson, and that was like 50 years ago. So whoever was talking about Grandmaster Flash the first time, I don't think you're the oldest person on this call. I think I'm going to shut up.
That was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We'll go Nefertiri, then Evan, then Kike, then Tim. I love that. I'm so glad that everybody has something jumping in on this. Go ahead, Nefertiri.
Okay, so one of my favorite heroes is Ida B. Wells, and it's because she knew the power of her words and her pen, right? She galvanized, and that's the word for me. She galvanized people to move. She did a lot of writings about the lynchings that were going on during her time in the South, and the impact that she made through her writings literally got people to understand the situation that's happening and move them to safer places, opportunities, and just to understand the power that they had. And I think that's a big part of it, knowing our art, at least for me. I think what my art, what the purposes that I have within my work is to help other people understand the power that they have in theirs. If we want to talk about Beyonce and all the other artists that were pulled out during election time in order to help bring out young people, politicians know the impact of artists. They use that in order to get work to be done, in order to get people to move and get them to do the things that they want to do. We have that power. And I think we just use it in order to help other people know what power they have so that they can take the actions they need to take. We just have to hope that the influence, we just have to hope that the influence we make is positive. And, you know, from one artist to another, you can only do what you can do, but if you're doing it with great intentions and great purpose behind it, then it will be positive impact, hopefully.
I keep talking about this Beyonce character. Who is Evan? We'll go ahead and go with you.
Robert about to get stung by the hive. Semantically, Max, I do understand your point, because forcing people to change really won't inspire true holistic change that comes from a genuine place. However, I think about, and I'm actually going to take the time to answer both questions, 5 and 6, at least for myself. But I remember a time when I did fences out in Eastern Maryland, Cecil County. For those of you guys who are from Maryland, lived in Maryland for a while, you know, Cecil County is pretty interesting, to say the least. I remember being out there, and I remember the very first rehearsal I had out there, going out because I needed to get gas and I needed to get some food. I remember going out to get both and getting looks from people who were out there kind of wondering, okay, like, why are you here? And I'm just kind of like, have you never seen a Black person before in your entire existence? Apparently not. So that was a very interesting experience. I remember having rehearsals where we were joking, but I also remember very real conversations we had about how the community engaged with this show, how they feel about this being the first all-Black show in this county's history. Will they accept it? Will the KKK show up right after the show? You know, with pitchforks and burning crosses, you know, we have no idea. We don't. But I remember the run. We did about 4 shows during that run, and we had about 100 people that came out at least to each show, thankfully. And the community was very receptive from what we were able to discern. And I'm just thinking about the influence that we were able to have during that experience. And it really was cool because there were so many people that I remember that came out to the Q&A that were very open, that were willing to ask questions, that were willing to just learn more about our experiences. And it's not like Fences is the only all-encompassing just Black experience that you'll ever see, because there's so much to our existence just as a race that so many people can be privy to, aside from just watching one play. But I feel like just having that opportunity to be a part of something like that, and I feel like we all have that opportunity just as artists to be able to inspire people and to influence them, as you said, Nefertari, to be able to make those choices, to be able to want to know more things for themselves. And really what you said also, Joel, also rings true, because you can watch a play, you can watch a movie, you can watch a show. You may have some similar experiences, but for the most part, everybody's going to take away something differently from the play that you watch, from the film that you watch, or from the art that you ingest and that you take in. So I'm just thankful just for the opportunity, and I'm just thankful for the chance to live this out every single day, especially just with all of you, with the different work that we do. But influence definitely is key.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So just to remind everybody, we got about 4 minutes left. I did not want to silence anybody's voice. Kike, I know you had your hand up. Tim, I know you had your hand up. If y'all want to briefly touch on this point as well, and then we'll move on to one more question before we end it out. So Kike, go ahead.
I really love this question just because coming up, I didn't think being an actress, I would able to get people to start thinking about something, just because, you know, as an actor, you're acting out people's words, right? So like, I've always felt like the writer had more of the influence, or, you know, the playwright or the showrunner. But then I remember watching Chadwick Boseman, may God rest his soul, in these beautiful films, 42, Thurgood. And I was just like, wow, like, I love all his films. This was before he even became Black Panther. And so I was just like, wow. And then I went on YouTube and I saw that he purposely takes films that honor Black men, right? So like, he talked about his first booking. It was an amazing show, and he didn't like what his character was portraying. He's like, so he spoke to the producer and the director and was like, you know, maybe we can go this way. They cut him and booked another actor. So I think it goes back to that question of our responsibility. Like, being an actress, what I choose to take, what I choose to portray, helps me to be able to get people to start thinking, you know what I mean, about social injustices and all that. And I love that. I think it's a blessing for me to be able to do that, in short.
I was going to say that I don't think that our power lies in our ability to compel. I think our power lies within the ability to influence. Yeah. The influence part is major, and I don't think a lot of people give the influence enough credit as to what can be done. I say that ignorance is bliss, right? And repetition is the truth to the blissful, right? Mm-hmm. So you if somebody doesn't know something and you repeat any falsity to them long enough, that's going to be what their truth is, right? I think that as artists, we have the ability to influence in that regard, truthful or, you know, false. So I think that our power lies within our ability to influence and not compel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to jump to the last question 8, and then I'm going to have Angela go up. All right, never mind. I'm just reading that. Sorry, go ahead. I'm going to let Angela go ahead and take over. She is going to address a question 8 while she closes, but I just want to personally thank everybody for being here. You guys have definitely opened my eyes as an artist, as a fellow artist. So I will let Angela take it away without further ado.
Well, let me just say, first of all, thank you, Robert, for doing such a great job with facilitating. Appreciate that. And just say, did you have anything that, you know, you were trying to keep things going, but did you have anything that you felt particularly that was kind of weighing on you that you wanted to share before I kind of close us out?
it would be so much longer to go into it, but everybody has said basically everything that I've been thinking, and I really appreciate the input from everybody's perspective. It was so empowering. So I'm literally over here like taking notes. Like, oh, I'm writing that down. That's good. Y'all think I'm playing? Twitter's gonna be deep with somebody saying. So thank you guys so much for everything today.
Yeah. So just reiterating what he said. Thank you all for your time today. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Right. So the last question, do you believe there's an equity inclusion problem within the artistry community? One of the things that the Angel Wing Project has been doing this whole last year is working in collaboration with the Arts Council and also Chesapeake Arts Center and other organizations on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility issues. And so that has been a big focus for us, to talk to other organizations and independent artists about opportunities and representation. And do you feel like you have access to opportunities? Do you feel like you are seen or represented in the arts community? And so I know in this area, there is a big, and as well as the Maryland State Arts Council. So I know in this area, there is a big push to make things more equitable. And so for artists, because historically speaking, we know that always wasn't the case. And especially in Anne Arundel County, it's really not been the case. Just since I've been involved with Anne Arundel County, I've seen a lot of progress. Oh, Joelle, you turned sideways. I've seen a lot of progress as far as them being more diverse and trying to really showcase more diverse artists. And so I'm right now I'm working on a new script and writing about life. I don't necessarily always choose groups. I'm just writing about life in general. I'm exploring some things with the LGBTQ community, and because I know people, my family. I mean, it's just, it's part of our culture, it's part of our, and so sometimes I just feel like we need to expand ourselves so that we're being more inclusive and people are really seeing themselves represented in whatever kind of art that we're doing. And so anyway, so don't be, because I work with people of all shades, all kinds, all colors. Don't limit yourselves. And that's what we're trying to teach other people is don't limit yourselves, because you're missing out on, you can miss out on such a rich opportunity if you limit yourselves to certain groups. And while I am African American and I'm always going to have that voice and that perspective, I'm also open to work with and hear about and understand other cultures, other perspectives as well. And I think that that's how we address that issue, not just looking for people to open their arms to us, but that we're opening our arms to other people as well. Goodbye, everyone, and have a wonderful afternoon. And just thank you guys so much. This was so good. All right.
Thank you for making the space.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Getting us all together, man. We love you, yeah.
Angel Wing, go Angel Wing.
Angel Wing.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Enjoy the weekends on purpose.
All right.
Thank you, bud.